a guide to studying English. Ask yourself, why do you want to learn English? Why is it hard to become fluent in the English language? What is the difference in studying in Monol? When we talk about knowledge, we are talking about learning ideas, rules, facts and other information regarding a specific subject. We gain this knowledge by reading books, watching videos, and even taking classes. Knowledge in itself is good, but without application, you cannot use your knowledge and it basically becomes useless. The application of such knowledge is what we call a skill. The difference between knowledge and skill. When we talk about knowledge, we refer to learning of concepts, principles and information. A skill is when you use that knowledge in real life. For example, a man who has been studying culinary arts has the knowledge how to cook. In his job as a chef, he can apply his knowledge in making delicious dishes. The application of his knowledge in cooking is what we call a skill. If the man had a different job, his knowledge in cooking would be useless. Since he cannot apply his knowledge, it cannot become a skill. This is why it is better to view English as a skill, rather than a subject. Because if you want to have skills in English, you will need knowledge and practice. Developing language as a skill can be very difficult. Because normally when we study a subject, we receive some information, we then deconstruct the information word by word or sentence by sentence. We try to recall if we have encountered the word before, and compare it to a word that we already know. Once we have done our comparisons, we then analyze what is left of the sentence, then we begin constructing a proper response. Although this kind of process is good for studying, it is very difficult to apply in language, because speaking a language is a real-time activity. You need to be able to respond to a question almost immediately. The normal thought process is very slow and repetitive, especially when it comes to languages. In order to have a good conversation, a person should be able to respond within 1 to 2 seconds after a question is asked. So, how can you develop your English speaking skills? When you want to gain real-time processing or fluency, you should compare learning a language to learning a sport. Speaking a language and playing a sport are both real-time activities. You need to react as quickly as possible and be as accurate as you can be, and make very little to no mistakes, in order to be called successful in either of the activities. But how do you gain the speed, skill, accuracy needed to speak a language? We study sports just like any other subject. We start by gathering information necessary to play the sport. Little by little we use this knowledge and start practicing what we learned, sometimes in practice, and sometimes in real play. By repeating this method of gaining knowledge plus practice plus application, our bodies memorize the actions and how to react properly to a situation as fast as possible. This is how we develop what is called real-time processing or muscle memory. The learning process is very simple. We gain knowledge from studying. We practice what we learned to develop it as a skill. And we apply what we practiced. If we develop our language skills using this process, we can develop real-time processing. Developing muscle memory in language, or real-time processing, takes a lot of time and repetition. But, if you have a proper plan and guide, you can shorten the time needed to develop it. One such plan is to provide you with consistent and proper practice, so that your body can memorize how to react without the normal thought process. For example, here we see a man with no training in a sport. He then studies about it, and later begins to practice his skills. After some time, the movements are integrated to his body, and it becomes muscle memory. The same can be done with a language. You can eliminate the normal thought process, and make your mind process the information almost immediately. So the question is, how do we gain muscle memory in a language? Let's start by simply comparing your English fluency to your mother tongue. Even before you are born, you are exposed to your mother tongue. Little by little you are exposed to your language and start to gain knowledge. You apply this knowledge every day when you read, write, and talk using your mother tongue. You gain maximum exposure and practice using your language every single day. Some of the keys to developing a language as a skill are exposure and practice. The amount of exposure you get is also key to learning a new language. And Monol's curriculum is designed in a way to give you knowledge in proper amounts so you are not suddenly overwhelmed by information. The same can be said for English. You need to be exposed to it, piece by piece. Our curriculum is designed with a spiral framework, exposing you to different levels while making sure you get maximum learning and exposure to the language. Although the curriculum alone cannot ensure your mastery in the language, you need to put in some effort yourself. This is why you need to practice the 3 R's. The 3 R's are divided into review, rewrite, and read. For review, during regular self-study, students go over the unit discussed in class, apart from accomplishing the requirements of the homework given by the teachers. For rewrite, students identify errors in their books, go over the corrections given by their teachers, and later on revise and rewrite the summary of the unit's lesson. And finally we have read, where after reconstructing ideas from rewriting, students go over the key points enumerated at the end of every lesson, as well as their homework and unit summaries. In order to maximize learning, the 3 R's should be practiced 3 times a day for 3 units a day. As a summary, you should know that language is a skill, not a subject. In order to master a skill, you will need knowledge and practice. Monol's curriculum is designed for maximum learning, and provides you with the knowledge you need. In order to gain real-time processing in a language, you will need to practice, and the best way to practice is by using the 3 R's. With Monol's systems and your effort, you can become fluent in the English language.